You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
This is TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network, a weekly audio safari that features the newest in paranormal discoveries while highlighting the latest and not to be missed TruthFunder.com projects. For truth seekers and true believers, this week's TruthFunders starts now.
Greetings, bonjour, hola, welcome, and hello. This is the TruthFunders live radio show on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. I am your host for this weekly look at TruthFunders.com and everything that is paranormal, metaphysical, universal, and essentially good. It is about the light here on this particular radio program. As always, I am joined by the CEO and founder of TruthFunders.com. His name is Mark Schwartz, and Mark, a very sober hello to you on this Wednesday.
Yes, and a not so sober hello to you, apparently.
Yeah, so I was not here last week. For those of you that typically tune into the show, if this is your first time tuning in, then all systems are go. There's no real hiccups or issues for you. But if last week you tuned in or you happened to catch the show, I was not on because I was out going through some painfully excruciating dental surgery at that particular time on that day. So you were enjoying the show, and I was dealing with root canals and wisdom teeth and all sorts of nonsense.
I'm a big candy holic. I love gummy bears. I destroy bags of gummy bears. Tell everybody what happened. See, when you called me last week and you said, I can't do the show tonight. I broke my tooth. I was like, oh man, did he fall? Did he break his head? Did he get punched in the face in a bar fight? What exactly happened?
Yeah, it was the bar fight. That's what it was.
No, but what really happened?
What really happened? I will never eat Skittles again. I swear to you. Ultimately, this was a long. A long journey, I'm sure, of terrible things that I was putting in my mouth that ultimately the straw that broke the camel's back was the Skittle. But, I had not been to a dentist in maybe 8 months. I actually had been to a dentist. It was certainly less than a year. And apparently in between my last dental visit where everything was cool and now, I had come down with a cavity that was it was beyond the point of a cavity. It was a root canal that I had that done.
Let's be real. Was it one cavity, or was it several cavities? It ended up being two. Well, see, the thing was, it ended up being two cavities that ended up needing two root canals. I go in for the second one tomorrow, actually, to get finished and to fit it for the crown and all that. But I had 4 Horleys on it. Shit, man, I'm so high on dope right now. I had 4 horizontally impacted wisdom teeth. All 4 of my wisdom teeth had not been taken out, and they were coming in and they were growing in sideways at such an alarming rate that they were making the backs of my, my back teeth. Dude, you're weak. A mutant.
Yes.
You're literally a mutant. You're like a new species of
because these teeth were going in and they were making my back teeth weak, everything was it was a compounded situation that
Did you bite into the Skittle?
Here's the thing, I bit into the Skittle. I broke off an entire, more than 3/4 chunk of my tooth, and I didn't even feel it. I felt that there was a big hole there with my tongue.
Of course you didn't feel it.
Because
you
it was
bit
dead.
Into it with your mutant wisdom teeth.
So either way, I've gone through the last 6 days of some pretty gnarly dental surgery. It's expensive. I'm on painkillers. I'm hopped up on dope, and I'm going to be doing this show in such an experimentally, sort of presentational way that everyone that's enjoying it tonight will get a one-time experience of this, and then hopefully by next week I'll be back to my normal
totally razor sharp with itself. And you can hopefully catch me up on last week, since I haven't even heard last week's show, let alone being on it. I have not even had a
Oh
chance to
man, you
listen
should
to it
have
yet.
in your Vicodin induced stage. You should have been plugged in and listening to last week's show. Last week's show was really, I mean, it was really great. It
By the way,
sucked
if
that
you
you
want to,
weren't there.
I want to give out the phone number. See, there's going to be a lot of interrupting and things like this, because this is my state of being, and you know how that goes. I'm going to try and let Mark do a little bit more of the speaking when I don't need to be for this show. But I want to give out the phone number, which is 888-919-2355, 888-919-2355 to call TruthFunders Radio here on the Inception Radio Network. And by the way, before we get into what happened last week, I do want to tease our guest that will be on the show coming up in about 10-15 minutes here, Eli, and we can talk a little bit about his TruthFunders project in a bit. But yeah, we have a brand new show for you. We got a brand new guest and lots of TruthFunders stuff coming your way. But now you can please take it away, Mark, with what you were going to say.
Absolutely. So if anyone's joining us for the first time, yeah, Art is like a true professional, and I was a little freaked out last week doing the show without him, especially because we had a killer talent. We had Nancy and Bill Burns.
Yeah,
Bill and
huge
Nancy
talent. The
Burns.
1 week I bail on you, you get another one of those like big guest landings. And,
yeah, we had Jesse Marcel. He appeared, and the whole time I was like, "Where is Art? Where is Art?" I mean, I knew where you were. We were all sending you healing, praying, fun vibes, like get better.
I appreciate it. I did feel those come through at one point. I got a little kick of just like giddy laughter, and I think it was. I think that maybe I'm still feeling a little bit of those good vibes that you sent me from last week right now. I don't know. Could just be the drugs.
It's probably the drugs.
It's probably the drugs. It's just a heightened sense of awareness because of the drugs.
Oh man, this is definitely going to be an interesting show. I can already tell. So it's great though, because you came through this week, and we could have easily done the show, not easily have done the show without you again, and I would have done it. But we missed you last week. I
missed you guys too.
I was telling Nancy, I was telling Bill, I said, "Oh, you guys, I wish Art was here," because we were having this fantastic conversation about the future of internet radio. And why they're so amazing is because they've been there almost since the sort of the conception, since when it was just in podcast form, and then it went to live radio, and now you have it on networks. And they've sort of seen all the different tiers that paranormal radio, online radio has gone through over the past, few years. And it was incredible, and they have so much to say, and I kept talking. In fact, I was talking so much to them. Art, you're great. You cut me off. You cut our guests off. You're like, we have to go to break. We got to do this. We have to.
I try to steer a tight ship around here when I'm not floating on a cloud. And,
I was just talking like it was a regular conversation, and before I knew it, we were off air, and I was just still talking. So if you hear last week's episode, when you go back, I think Nancy says something, and then it's just like boom, TruthFunders Radio, and I went up talking to her for another 2 hours, just great.
Did you guys just keep going even though you didn't even know the show was over? Because you have a tendency to do that sometimes.
Yeah, pretty much. MJ let us know. He stopped us, but
that's good. He tends to stay on top of it. So you guys were in good hands. I don't know if MJ was necessarily in good hands, but you guys were.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a different show. It was a lot of fun, and I recommend people, if you did miss last week's show, it was a bummer that Art wasn't in it, but there was really just incredible stuff to be said by Nancy and Bill, and just hitting on topics. I think a lot of people that listen to the show, and a lot of our listeners, I mean, that are part of this paranormal radio online revolution. It's happening, and we're listeners. We're a part of it. Some people have shows. Some people are just like they listen to it instead of watching TV. And that's what's really exciting about our guest tonight. So Eli Donley's coming on, and he has a a show as well. It's a paranormal radio show, and he has all sorts of great subjects, which we're going to talk about when he comes on. But he actually is creating a project on TruthFunders, and the reason why he's creating a project here is, I'll let him explain, but more or less it's to get better equipment, it's to have better sound, it's to reach more people. So we're really excited to sort of be a part of that and be helping people and shoving people out into the world and doing what we can and making friends along the way and all of this. So it's, it's just really great. And I also wanted to thank, we got so many emails from last week's show.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you hear any correspondence back or any follow-up in terms of response from last week's extravaganza?
Yeah, we sure did. Every week we get stuff. Last week, I think people really responded to the conversation specifically because if you're listening to this and you are a part of that revolution, you have a voice and you want to say something and you want to talk about it. We didn't take calls last week because we were so immersed in the conversation. So I want to make sure that we take calls this week, if people want to call in and say anything. So
888-919-2355 is the telephone number. Speaking of which, 888-919-2355 to call in and speak to Mark and myself here on TruthFunders Radio. And did you guys get to I'll let you get back to the email in a second, but I want to know if you got to a remote viewing sketch, or not sketch, but bit clip last week. Did you find something to remote view? Man, I'm so out of it.
You are totally out of it, but it's great. It makes for a crash and burn session of a radio experience.
Yeah, that means we're just going to crash and burn. 888-9. Should I be on the air? 888-919-2355.
So we didn't do one, but we are going to do it this week. I think we're going to do it once we bring Eli on, and we will do this experiment with him on the air. But when we do finally get to the experiment and I try to get people, I send out what I'm holding and everyone out there remote views it, thinks about it. I want you guys to go to Facebook and go to TruthFunders on Facebook. Even if you don't have a Facebook, you can still go there and take a look at the page. If you don't have an account, you can go right over there. And there's a special section for today's remote viewing contest. So if you know what we're remote viewing, during the show, you can go ahead and write what you think it is. We are remote viewing out and what you see. And if you do get it right, we will reveal the answer on Facebook after the show. And if you happen to get it right, if you type in the correct answer during the show, before we reveal the real answer, we will be sending you a TruthFunders t-shirt. And also be getting you on the show because obviously you have some incredible remote viewing powers, which is incredible.
Hey, one thing I want to bring up that I've been meaning to bring up on the show here that is something that's a big part of my life. It's a big part of my wife's life. I mean, this has been a big part of my wife, mine and her life for years now. Yours too, I'm sure. I'm sure as soon as I mention this to you, you're going to go, oh, yeah, that's something that I deal with on a daily basis as well. I want to get a temperature. I want to take the temperature on the audience and see how much this sort of thing is popping up in their lives on a regular basis as well. And that is the concept of angel numbers. Are you familiar with the concept of angel numbers, Mark?
No. What is that?
Okay, so angel numbers are when you see patterns in numbers on a consistent basis. So you'll see either a repeating pattern in terms of like maybe 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You'll see that everywhere. You'll look at the clock; it's 12 12. You'll look at the price on the grocery bill, it's 12 12. You'll see it everywhere, and it's just one specific reoccurring pattern. It could be sequential as well. It could be you just see numbers that line up in terms of 4 5 6 7 8 9. Your gas was $45 and 67 cents, whatever. Like you just see numbers and patterns continuously lining up there everywhere you look. Usually 1111 is what it starts with people, and then it will tend to evolve and transform as time goes on, as you're more open to the concept of the angel numbers. And basically the essential gist of it is that it's the way the universe speaks to you, and you being open to that type of back and forth conversation with the universe. I've been dealing with like angel numbers and seeing them going back as far as 2012, right before the
December 21st date. Maybe that summer is when it started for me with like 11/11s and then sequential patterns. Now it's moved on to, I just see my birthday everywhere. My birthday is May 26th. Everywhere I look, the numbers 526 pop up, almost to like it being a scary amount. Do you deal with anything like that? Do you see numbers in that sort of way just in your everyday life?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody sees that. It's the pattern. Some people call it a pattern. Some people just call it coincidence.
Synchronicity is another term for it.
Absolutely. If there's any number, I haven't had numbers really affect me like that in a long time. At some point, I remember there was, everybody has that, like a 1111 or whatever it might be.
1111 is like when you first start to seeing the 1111, that means that is that is the universe saying, hey, look, you're open to this. 11. If you look up the significance of 1111, that will be typically like the first step into having more awareness of what's going on around you with that type of synchronicity. That's the way I understand it anyway. I do want to see if anyone else out there is dealing with this on a regular basis and what their interpretations of it are. So please call the show, 818 rather. What is the number?
You are totally Viked out, my brother.
I am.
It's okay.
888-919-2355. I know. I'm going to go on this whole like angel numbers Vicodin rant.
You're like, yeah, I'm getting my root canal. I'm feeling the angel numbers.
888-919-2355. 888-919-2355. I would love to take some calls on that. And I do find it interesting that you don't see more of that around you, because I really would have assumed.
I just had this visual art that you're actually getting your root canal done right now, and that they have nitrous strapped on you, and you're just having the phone.
I wish. I just got headphones strapped in, and they're muting the drill as you're speaking.
Hey, so yeah, well, without further ado, I think we should go ahead. Yeah, Eli's been waiting long enough, so I want to give a little introduction to Eli.
We can ask him about angel numbers too, and whether or not he is high on Vicodin as well.
We could. We will talk to him about all of these wonderful things. And really quick, before we do that, one last thing I want to do is give a shout out to everybody who sent in emails this week. So I'm going through this list. Thank you, Erica. Yes, we will totally do that at some point. Jonathan, you rock. Thank you for supporting us and listening to us from day one. Patrick, we totally appreciate it. Feel free to call in and let us know what you love about things all the time. Who else have we got here? We got Paul. Paul, thank you very much. He was calling all the way from Sydney. And then there was Georgia. So thank you guys so much. We really appreciate all the feedback that you have to give us. I know this is a totally crazy, loopy show today, and it's going to get crazier and loopier as we bring Eli on. So Eli Donley, I'd like to introduce him to the show. Eli, are you there?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing good. Art, are you there? I think we might have lost Art. I think
No, I'm here. Sorry, I'm here.
Oh my gosh, this is the funniest show I've been a part of.
Hey Eli, what do you feel about angel numbers, my friend?
I can only say that I've only seen a couple article headlines, but I never really read into the articles that much, so sure. I couldn't help you out. That much.
That's right.
So Eli, for everybody listening right now, thank you for being a part of this very kooky edition of TruthFunders Radio. We've had some very, very serious conversations in the past, and today is sort of more of a laid back episode, I guess. But what's really exciting is your project and what you're doing. You reached out to us a couple of weeks ago with an idea for a project. You had been working on a podcast, and I'm just curious, sort of, what was your process, or how did you hear of Truth Funders, and what was your process of reaching out to us, and what are you working on?
Well, I first heard about you guys on another radio show, and I know it by Fade to Black. And when I first heard about the website, I went ahead and checked it out. I don't know if I should say this, but I checked it out at work immediately.
You can definitely say that. It's okay.
Come on, dude. This is a show about conspiracy and paranormal. That should be the first thing you open in bed.
I think Art is eating Skittles right now.
I'm literally do you guys actually want to know what I'm doing? I'm literally lidocaine my mouth right now because I'm in pain from the opening and closing and the speaking. So I'm numbing. I got a Q-tip and I'm numbing it with this like super intense lidocaine.
I can say it sounds very painful.
So
it's not as painful as this radio show, I'll tell you that much.
This is fun. But I first heard about you guys on that radio show, so I checked it out. And when I first came to the website, I immediately thought to myself that this was something that I need to be involved in. And for my podcast, I spent a lot of time, a lot of hours listening to other various podcasts, whether it be about paranormal or alternative history. And I also listened to a lot of YouTube videos. I started feeling like that I had a voice as well to share about these subjects. And so I wanted to create a podcast that didn't have the same mainstream views I felt that a lot of these other videos or podcasts had. And so I wanted to kind of take a little bit of a non-mainstream view when it came to these
mainstream, what subject? Okay, so that's an interesting thing to say. What three subject, or what, no, not even three. What two subjects are you most passionate about that you didn't have mainstream views on that you wanted to bring your particular vision to the masses on? Because I'm curious.
Yeah, one of the main subjects that I would like to say I research and watch a lot of videos on is about ancient history. And a lot of that comes from like the pre-flood era.
So you think that we've been a civilization many times over and we've gotten to certain points in technology and then been decimated back down to the Stone Age and rebuilt and back. A lot of that type of history, what history is telling us now is not what actually happened at all.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it. Just for an example, I feel that when we get to the megalithic structures of our past, people want to immediately throw in alien technology, whereas that might be the case. I'm open-minded enough to think that sure, there could be an alien race out there that helped build megalithic structures, or it could be something like the Nephilim, that were giants, and if they were 35 to 150 feet tall, it would explain their reasoning on having such giant structures and being able to create those structures.
And where do you form your opinions, or who are your biggest influences when it comes to your theories?
One of my biggest influences right now that I've actually kind of been following closely is a guy by the name of Trace Smith, and he puts a lot of hours into making his videos. And one of the most recent videos was a video about Noah's flood, and he also has another video that talks about the Nephilim. And then,
can you explain the Nephilim a little bit more? Because I'm unfamiliar with the concept of the Nephilim. You said they're giants?
Yeah, essentially what we call the Nephilim, it started off as the fallen angels that were cast out of heaven. And when they fell out of heaven, they found that essentially the human race, the women, they took kindly to, and they wanted to mate with them. And when they mated with them, they created this offspring of what we would consider giants, or the Nephilim.
Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, yeah. So, no, that's interesting, and I think a lot of people have particular views that are similar to that. With you talk a little bit about sort of mainstream. When you talk about mainstream, do you mean different mainstream paranormal views, or mainstream sort of science mainstream views?
The type of mainstream that I'm talking about is mainstream science. They want you to believe that The last type of thing that I researched was how they built the pyramids. And, there were some scientists that had hypothesized that when they were taking these giant heavy stones and taking them across the desert, that what they did were they would first place the stones onto wooden logs, and then they would wet the sand down. And because they wet the sand down, it had a sort of displacement, and they were able to roll the stones across the logs, across the sand. And those are the type of examples that I kind of want to shy away from, because in my heart, I don't believe that. And I really want to take more of a paranormal or alternative method, alternative history to how, just for an example, the pyramids were built.
So it's really interesting because I think... it's I have that same feeling. I think a lot of us do, and it's why we do paranormal radio. It's why we're so interested in the paranormal. Some of the theories of mainstream science just don't seem to fill all the spaces and all the voids that we're looking for.
Most of them, really.
It's true. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that makes a lot of sense, and science makes a lot of sense. I'm really into the science of things because my dad is a scientist, so I've always looked for the scientific explanation when it comes to ghosts, when it comes to aliens, when it comes to our prehistory. But there are just some things that I think we naturally kind of drift and think about it in a paranormal perspective. Now, in your TruthFunders project, you're trying to raise money to get better equipment for your podcast. And in one of your statements, and people can go ahead and read your story if they go to www.truthfunders.com. And on the front page, if you scroll down, you'll see the truth. Sorry, my computer is crashing in front of me. You'll see You'll see your project if you just scroll down, the TruthSquad, and if you click on it, you'll be able to read all of Eli's story. Now, Eli, you said in your story that your dad kind of helped bring these ideas out of you. He said to continue to question the world. And so do you think it was his influence that got you to start thinking like this? I'm really curious to see, how most people start to fall in line with the paranormal. If it's an experience that actually happened to them, or if it's something that they learned growing up, or if, they learned the science version and then somehow they just said, this isn't working for me, and they moved on to the paranormal. So what is it that sort of got you really involved, and what is your dad's influence in that?
Well, the first thing that I would like to say is that I think that my dad is an amazing man. And one thing that I most admired about my dad is the fact that he had such an open mind about the things around us. And because my mom was a preacher, and we used to call her basically the right hand of God, he was very... He believes in God and, everything along those lines. But when it came to other things such as alien, alternative history, Bigfoot, I mean, his idea behind it was, why not? Why do you think that we know everything there is to know about this earth? Why not open ourselves up to the possibilities? Because if we don't open ourselves up to the possibilities, then we're just going to be stuck in this notion that we have everything figured out, and we're going to miss those strange and unbelievable, or, you could even call it paranormal. We're going to miss out on all that stuff because we're just so arrogant in our ways that we miss out on the truly fascinating stuff.
I want to take a pause right there and say that we need to take a quick break. You're listening to TruthFunders Radio here on the Inception Radio Network. 888-9... Oh, shoot. Mark, what's the number?
So Art
I
in
almost
his
had it. I almost
in his painkiller induced
888-919-2... 888-919-2355. 888-919-2355. We will get through this together. We'll just all sing Kumbaya around the fire at the end of the show. It's going to be great. My name's Art Webb. You're listening to Mark Schwartz and myself along with Eli. We will talk more about Giants and his podcast and all sorts of fun stuff when we get back here on TruthFunders Radio, live on the Inception Radio Network.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free. You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Listeners, this is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called DreamNuage.com. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DreamNuage.com. Simple, raw, organic. You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
All right, you're listening to TruthFunders Radio live on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. I am here with Mark Schwartz. I am high on painkillers after a week's worth of dental surgeries, and the show is completely gone off the rails. So, Mark, tell us what happens next in this train wreck of an episode.
This is what's so awesome, though. Okay, so Eli, thank you so much for bearing with us in this particular for this particular episode. So
you should hear some of my other work.
This is what's so amazing, though, about live radio. The fact that part of the fun of listening to live radio is that if there is a train wreck, if things are going off the hinges and it's like, oh my gosh, it's going this way, it's going that way, what's going to happen? You never know what's going to happen. And that's why sometimes you're listening to a podcast and it's totally polished. When you're listening to live radio, anything can happen. And that's why it's so exciting. And I knew that Art, when I talked to Art earlier today, he was just coming out of dental surgery, and I knew maybe I should do the hosting myself again. But I'm like, no, we need Art, and I'm so
clearly.
And so, Eli, we apologize to you if we're not as serious tonight as we are in every single other episode. But we appreciate you for being here and appreciate you for bearing with us.
I do want to talk about Giants more and stuff like that, because I am interested in that, and I do want to know more about what happened with all of that as well.
Yeah, so in your research, Eli, like what are some of the things that you've come across that are just fascinating, like your favorite thing? I know you touch on Hollow Earth theory, and
I love Hollow Earth theory. I would love to talk about that. That's something I'm a big fan of.
I can tell you guys, first off, I just want to let you know that for me, this is awesome. And I love the fact that this radio show can be a little laid back while we talk about these subjects. So for me, this is, I'm just having a ball.
Good.
So,
awesome.
Excellent.
Glad you're having a good time, because I sure am. I'm high. I'm like that Tao on South Park. You guys want to be high?
Yeah, no, this is amazing for me. But Mark, what was your question again?
Hollow Earth. I want to talk about
Hollow Earth.
Yes, please.
Correct.
For the love of God.
people are going to go back to the show and say, this was that crazy show that they did. So people are going to go back to the archives. They're going to be listening to the show. They're going to be laughing along. There's probably some people out there that would point to the show and say, this is why I never listen to TruthFunders, because they're not serious all of the time when it comes
Couple
to
of whack jobs. Yeah,
but I think the majority of people out there are looking to be entertained and have a good time, and we are serious, 85% of the time. But you know what? At the same time, we are fun. We care about the paranormal. We're nerds. We're cool. We're cool nerds. There is a distinction, and it's good stuff. But
no cool nerd ever said that they're a cool nerd. Only
okay, then that makes me a dork.
I just want to talk about Hollow. Yeah, this is great. Let's just talk about Hollow Earth, because seriously, I love the concept of Hollow Earth. And for those that are unfamiliar, Eli, with the notion of Hollow Earth, can you give a brief, 101 type of Hollow Earth for Dummies synopsis of what the idea is all about?
Sure. Well, basically, Hollow Earth in a nutshell is the theory that there is another Earth inside of our Earth, and it's equipped with its own sun, its own vegetation, its own life. And I recently did a podcast about the Hollow Earth and kind of my feelings about it. And I actually start off reading a story regarding the Hollow Earth, and it's kind of a witness account story. And it was
somebody that flew through it. It was one of the people that flew through it, supposedly back in the 40s or whatever it was.
Well, what had happened was that there was a kid and his father who were sailing across the sea. And they had said that when they were sailing, they noticed that the sun was essentially staying in its place. And then they had actually, I guess, sailed into the Hollow Earth, and they had met up with these other people. And these other people essentially asked, do you want to go with us? And the son looked to his father. The father said, hey, he essentially said, either way, I feel like we're dead anyway, so we might as well just go with them. So for the next couple of years, they actually sailed with these people through the Hollow Earth, and they give their accounts of what they saw. And what had happened was that when they were trying to go out of the Hollow Earth, the father ends up dying, and they end up being shipwrecked. And the son, he actually gets rescued by a boat that was sailing across. And I can't remember if he was on an iceberg or wreckage or something like that. But he gets rescued, and he tries to tell the captain of the ship what he had just witnessed, him and his father. And the captain of the ship basically says that he's crazy, puts him in shackles, and they take him. They hold him in shackles until they hit land, and then this person ends up going to the United States, where he ends up dying. And the most interesting thing about this story is, whether you believe in Hollow Earth or not, what I found interesting about it was that he actually didn't write the story. He actually told another person who was an author the story, and that person wrote the story, and it was on his deathbed, kind of like a deathbed confession. Right. And what I said in my podcast, what I found interesting about it was the whole deathbed confession aspect, and how they actually use the deathbed confession in court sometimes as an actual testimony. And their thinking behind the deathbed confession is, what would the person who's dying have to gain from a confession when they're getting ready to pass away? So they actually hold some water for the deathbed confession. And, I actually found that pretty interesting when the story was written.
That is interesting.
What are your final takes on that? I mean, do you, in your heart of hearts, do you believe in that there is Hollow Earth, or do you think it's just sort of a fun fairy tale, so to speak?
Well, I can tell you this. I'm one of those type of people that search the internet all the time. And I search, stories that were written on the internet, videos that were put on YouTube, and then I have to discern what's true and what's fake. And in my heart of hearts, I don't believe that there is an opening at the North or the South Pole. However, I do honestly believe that there is a Hollow Earth that we don't know about. And the reason why I believe this is because there was a story that had came out, and I wish I could give you guys the website. I was a little ill-prepared on that, but I believe that it came out on Yahoo News. And the story essentially said how there was a cave that was discovered, and inside the cave actually revealed that there was a whole nother ecosystem inside of this cave, and it was equipped with vegetation, trees, water life. It basically had everything it needed to sustain life. And when I hear things about that, I have no doubt in my mind that there is a whole nother world beneath the surface that we have no idea about. I don't believe that it's at the North or South Pole, but I do believe it could be at other entrances.
Who do you think could populate this interior world? Because I kind of am with you. I don't necessarily believe that there is a giant hole at the top or bottom of the planet, but there could be certainly something going on deep inside the planet. Hitler was a big believer in Hollow Earth theory as well. Do you think it's populated by humans, or do you think it's populated by other wildlife, perhaps things like what we perceive as Sasquatch and stuff like that,
or demons, or evil deities down there?
I think that it's certainly most. I honestly believe that the Hollow Earth could be populated by humans, because when we look at such things as
do you think the giants,
cities,
perhaps that's where the giants could have went to?
For me personally, I don't believe that there's giants down there. I think that we are past the point of so-called giants. I believe that it's populated by another sect of human beings. And the reason why I believe this is because when we talk about underground cities, we know now that there are ancient underground cities that haven't been discovered until recently, and they had their own community down there, and for whatever reason, they've now disappeared. And I think that that's possible for...
Right. Look at like the Bosnian pyramids, too. I mean, those are just a recent discovery as well, and are still... those aren't even... That's a whole other thing.
I have to throw this in here. I don't believe that there's anything in the center. But that doesn't mean that I don't love to talk about it, and I'm not open to hearing people think or talk about it. In my mind, yes, there is definitely, a place for extraterrestrials, and there's stuff way beyond us, and there's stuff deep in the bottom of the oceans, But I'm open to hearing about it, but I guess maybe it's because my dad's a geologist, or maybe it's I don't know. I can't. It's very, very difficult for me to believe that. Now, there could be crevices in the earth where certain particular animals exist and climb around. And I'm just saying this, I'm not clowning on anybody that believes it, because I think it's really important that if you do believe it, or if you are doing research and you think that it's there, I think it's important to express that idea. And I think it's important to talk to people about it, because, I could be totally fucking wrong.
Trust me, Mark, you're not the only one who doesn't believe it. There's a lot of other people who don't believe it.
Right, but I do find it really interesting, and I had this thought while you guys were talking about it. Art, you said, "Hey, do giants exist under there?" My immediate thought, and this is probably just as crazy as anything else, is that giants could not live, if there was a hollow Earth, could not live in there. It would be small, short things that live in there because there's not enough sun or whatever. I think just like a plant, like a tree, you have enough room to grow, your roots will grow and spread. You have enough air to grow, you'll get taller and taller. Giants, I do believe they existed. I do believe they were on this planet for many, many years. I mean, it was in newspapers up until the early 1900s. People talked about them, and their bones exist, and the Smithsonian had them and hid them and all that. I find all that stuff completely interesting, but I think it has to do with like space and ratio. I think that trees grow bigger because their roots have enough places to grow, and they can grow tall because of air and photosynthesis and sun. And humans are sort of like that too. We can grow and get bigger depending on the space. Some of us can get big and fat while we sit at home and play in our room and just stay in one spot. Some of us are out
or have dental surgery and take drugs and not move from their bed. I want to have Eli respond to that. Eli, how do you respond to what Mark just said there?
Well, here's what I can bring to the table. And Mark, I want you to ponder on this a little bit.
Sure.
It has been recent that we have now discovered that at the deepest, darkest depths of the sea, we have now discovered that there's a whole new ecology that lives down there. We now know that there are fish, there are vegetation that's able to actually live and thrive without sunlight. And so it also, to me, brings true that when we're talking about cave systems, about the cave that I was mentioning, this cave actually wasn't as enclosed as you would think it to be. There was a little sect of the cave that was enclosed, but it actually opened up into almost enough room to where the top of it was cloudy, like it had its own atmosphere. And that brings me to one last point, is that when we'll take like geologists or scientists, when they search for new things, what they compare it to is what we already know about life and how life is sustainable. But I also think that that's one of the faults we have, is that we think that life has to exist under our conditions. But if you take that to a whole new level, when we talk about space exploration, well, why do they have to exist under our condition? And to me, I think that we miss a lot of things when we compare it to our conditions, and that might not necessarily always be the case.
I definitely agree with you on that point, and that's why even though in my heart of hearts I feel that there is not some hollow earth, at the same time I'm still totally intrigued and still totally open to listen to it, because I couldn't agree more. It's like we see it, taste it, smell it, and so that's, our senses are there, and that's what we take in, and that's what it has to be. But then there's things that we don't know, and I guess in some ways we have to take into effect what we do know, but then there's so much more that we don't, and that's why I'm just so in love with the paranormal, right? It's because it's almost like anything is possible. And I find it really intriguing. Now, a question I have for you is, in what you know of Hollow Earth, are there different places or different locations around the world that have like holes or areas that are that someone could actually transport themselves and get into, or is it something that's just completely sealed off, or are there entrances and exits to this place?
I don't believe that the most mainstream examples of the entrances are at the North and South Poles, as we would believe. There's even been videos of people that have flown across the North Pole to the point where this is where the entrance should be, and there's nothing there. And is it possible?
You know what, Eli? I just got to interrupt you for a second. It kind of reminds me of Mel's Hole. I don't know if you remember that old Art Bell show where he had Mel on. I don't know if you listened to him back in the day, but there was Mel's Hole, and it was this guy, and I don't know if they proved it to be a fraud or if they proved it to be true, but I knew that you could like look at it via Google Maps and be able to see it. There was all sorts of cool things like that. That he had this great story that you could, it never reached the bottom. Like no matter how many ropes he tied together.
I believe that was proved to be fake. Actually, the Mel's Hole thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was proven to be
regardless, it was entertaining.
It was super entertaining. What I want to ask you about, Eli, is the concept of Antarctica and your thoughts on that, because there's a lot of things shaking down in Antarctica right now, and a lot of because of global climate change and things warming up in certain parts of the world and cooling down in most of the others. There's a lot of history to be learned from Antarctica, but I think is just now we're just tapping the surface on. Are you familiar with, or do you have any thoughts on that concept as a whole?
Well, without trying to get too, let's say, political, I believe that, we are in climate change, but I also believe that as with normal seasons, the ice expands and melts just as it should. I have seen some images, and I can't even vet them to say if they're true, about some UFO crash sites that you can see from Google Earth. And I don't know if you guys have seen those or familiar with those.
I'm familiar with those.
It kind of makes me go back to the feeling of how can we sit here and think that we have everything figured out? And if we can't look at those images with an open mind, then I think we're honestly doing ourselves a disservice. And that's kind of where I bring my show into, this person is coming on the air with a different point of view, but why can't we take that point of view and dissect it and figure out what's going on here?
Well, I think that's part, and bringing this all back to one of my favorite topics, that's part of the revolution of what's happening now with online radio, and with the fact that now we have, where all the DJs were destroyed in the real terrestrial world, and nothing good exists on terrestrial radio except for a few shows here and there. The real incredible stuff, the mind-blowing stuff is happening online. And there are more and more people starting and creating shows. There's us, there's you have your podcast. But it's so phenomenal now that there is just a landscape growing of people that have great ideas and great they're able to share them with the world. And with your podcast, what do you think makes it differently? So you're working with us with TruthFunders right now. Your project just went up today, and I urge everybody out there to go to www.truthfunders.com, click on on his project, the TruthSquad podcast. And if you go there, you'll see at the very top there's a video. That video is his show, and he's actually talking about Hollow Earth theory, I believe, in that episode. And you can go ahead and click onto that after Truth Funders, of course, and after the next show on Inception Radio, which is California MUFON Radio. After you listen to those two shows, go to truthfunders.com, click on the Truth Squad podcast, and listen to Eli's show, because he has a lot of great ideas, and he really wants to get them out there, and he has a lot of really cool things to explore. And so to help sort of create this paranormal revolution, you can donate to his project, and he's doing all sorts of things and giving all sorts of wonderful rewards if you help to donate. And he's not asking for a lot. What Eli's asking for is around $900, and that's to get better equipment so that if you like his show, you can hear it better. It comes in crisper. You're having better sound quality, and you can really interact and listen to it more. And we want to do that at Truth Funders. We totally help that, and we want to support that. We're not trying to fight with other people and their podcasts and their shows, or be bigger and better and badder. Our whole goal here is really the website.
Yeah, we're not petty.
And help
we're not
people's
petty
projects.
like that. We're not beneath. We're not. I mean, you see some of these other even more nationally widely known shows that fight and go toe to toe with the bickering and the persnickety like attitudes. We're not going to do that here. We're not going to get caught up in shit like that.
And it brings me. It's like this. When I was living in Hollywood, I had a bunch of friends, and it was like these friends were really cool and nice, and I was having a good time, and I wound up getting a job. And the job was being cameraman for MTV for one of the reality shows. Now, it wasn't like something that I just loved doing, but it was my first real job in the entertainment industry, and I had worked really hard, and I had went to college, and I had been, waiting tables and doing stuff and just working so hard to get an opportunity. I finally got this opportunity, and the friends that I had there suddenly turned their back, and they said, screw you, blah, 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 blah. Oh, you're going to work in reality world. That's not art. And it was this big, and what it was, and being able to look back at it, it was a little bit of jealousy. It was a little bit of anger that they weren't getting a particular job or whatever. And it really hurt. I remember just being super hurt by that, being like, what the heck? Can't you just be happy? What happened was I wound up meeting a bunch of other friends that were really just fantastic people, and they were involved in all sorts of stuff, and they were happy for me that I was working and getting this job, and I was happy for them for working and doing their camera gig in other places. And what we did was we helped each other, and this group of 10 of us became a group of 20 of us that constantly helped each other. And if someone got a job somewhere, they would recommend one of us, and we help each other and get our legs up. And it worked, and we all became successful in a really good group of friends. And that's what I hope for and what I want with Truth Funders, and with a lot of the podcasts that are coming out, and with a lot of the radio shows that are out there. I want it to be this wonderful working environment where we're all helping each other, because we do have a same goal in mind. And that goal is to open minds. Whether Eli, you really are into Hollow Earth, and I think it's really cool. I don't necessarily agree, but I love the fact that you're doing it and that you're talking about it. And there's people out there that believe it and that, are open or have never heard it before, and you're opening their minds. And if we can all help each other, on that step and with that progression, and to spread these ideas, and maybe they're not the same ideas, but they're these mind-opening ideas, then we can do so much together as a community, instead of bickering like some of the bigger shows do, and some of the oh, he said this and she said that, and I'm going to do this and that. I mean, that stuff,
I'm going to take
hurting
this
our
show
community.
and I'm going to do this with it's a bunch of nonsense. It really is. At the end of the day, that's not what it should be about, and that's not what we're about here on Truth Funders. And we do encourage you to go check out Eli's project. Again, it's at truthfunders.com. That's at truthfunders.com. You can click on the project, read all about Eli's podcast, watch a little video. He talks about Hollow Earth, and support. I mean, $900 is not a whole lot to ask when you have everybody pitching in $5-10. That's a pretty obtainable goal. You are listening to Truth Funders Radio here on the Inception Radio Network. My name is Art Webb. I'm joined by Mark Schwartz as always. We need to take a quick break here at the top of the hour. We will come back and have about 30 more minutes of engaging, compelling, just stimulating paranormal talk radio for you. 888-919-2355 is the telephone number. 888-919-2355. Call us, talk to us.
Please call in, talk to Eli, or tell us your thoughts about what you feel about
I would love to talk
online
about,
radio.
That and the Hollow Earth theory with anybody willing to chat in with us. And the interactive community is not just about these shows and these podcasts. It is about you, the listener, as well, because without a listener, we have no audience, and we might as well just be talking to the mirror. So 888-919-2355. You're listening to Truth Funders Radio live here on the Inception Radio Network. We will be right back right after this.
Truth Funders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
Are you a fan of Inception Radio Network? Do you reckon it's the best alternative talk radio station on the planet? Well, if you do, head to facebook.com/Inception Radio Network and like the page. Tell your friends, spread the word, and keep listening to the best.
Hello, everyone. Lorian Fenton here, host of the California MUFON radio show, asking if you'd like special access to exclusive and amazing information about UFOs, the paranormal, and all things unexplained. If you're nodding yes, then join IRN's Insider Club. As an Insider Club member, you'll get an all-access pass to premier Inception Radio Network content for only $4.99 a month. This includes live UFO and paranormal conferences, live streaming UFO skywatches, exclusive IRN radio and TV productions, and of course, paying radio with MJ and Ken Storch. So don't wait any longer. Visit InceptionRadioNetwork.com and click on Member Login to join IRN's Insider Club and get your VIP access today.
Don't have a computer? Is your internet connection down? Don't worry. Use your trusty cell phone or landline and call into our listen line at 401-283-6700 to listen to the Inception Radio Network 24/7. Again, that call-in number is 401-283-6700. For the Inception Radio Network, I am MJ.
Hello, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Remember, you can take your Inception Radio shows on the go. Just download the Inception Radio Network app for your iPhone, iPad, or Android smartphones and access live shows, past shows, guest lineups, and much more. Just visit the iTunes Store or the Google Play Marketplace and download it today for free. You didn't forget what's coming up tonight, did you? Hi, Inception Radio Network listeners. This is Amanda. Never miss that interview you were looking forward to or the show on your favorite topic. Follow IRN on Twitter, I_R_N, and get reminders about the evening's live shows as well as fun and important updates throughout the week. That's I_R_N, and never miss a great show again.
Listeners, this is MJ saying hello and sharing an awesome secret I discovered. It's called DreamNuage.com. Fresh, raw, organic ingredients are used to create all their products. They are made in very small batches to ensure quality and freshness. Handmade in the USA, each product is created with care and with the finest organic ingredients. There are no preservatives, dyes, or chemicals in any product. Stop by Dream Nuage and relax. That's DreamNuage.com. Simple, raw, organic. You're locked into Inception Radio Network, Superior, Wisconsin.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.
All right, you're listening to TruthFunders Radio. Art is having a bit of a tooth attack. It's making him cough somehow. I don't know how, but he is. So welcome back to TruthFunders Radio. We are here with Eli and his project on TruthFunders, which is the TruthSquad, an incredible new podcast that's out. It's actually, he's had several episodes. You can go and listen to it. You know, something that's really cool about Eli's project and his podcast is he released it on Podbean, which is, one of the places that you can release podcasts. And it is one of the featured podcasts on Podbean, if not the number one featured podcast. Isn't that correct? Eli?
Yeah, one thing that I would like to say is that when I first made this podcast, it only took a couple of months, and I was a featured podcast on their website, and it actually got Site of the Week. So that actually made me feel pretty good because I knew that I was coming in a right direction with my podcast.
So your listenership has sort of exploded. Have people written to you? Have you received any emails from people saying what they like or what they don't like?
Right now on the podcast, I'm a little lackluster on the emails. And to me, that's okay, because the very first episode that I released, I think I almost had 100 plays that night. And
wow,
to me, it's important that people are at least listening. And I would like to have a lot more interaction with my listeners, because I want to build a community on the type of audience that is looking for the truth and alternative truth, and not what we've been fed by the mainstream.
Hey, you should go on TruthFunders Radio, man. That sounds like a great idea for you.
So, speaking of community, I know that we're looking at the numbers. There's thousands of people listening right now. We would love to have just one person, one of you guys, go ahead and give us a call. The telephone number here is 888-919-2355. That's 888-919-2355. We would love to hear, your thoughts about paranormal radio, about what's happening in the world and sort of the future of paranormal radio. And do you like what you hear? Do you like what you hear on TruthFunders? Do you like the way we talk here and are sort of put it out there? And do you have questions for Eli? Do you have questions for him about Hollow Earth? Do you have questions for him about his podcast and how he came up with the idea for the podcast, or questions about his campaign? We would love to hear from you, because it's so exciting to be here.
And right now, I can say that I'm doing as well as I'm booked through May with guests. So you can expect a lot more to come out of the Truth Squad. But another thing that I want others to realize is that this has kind of been a slow-moving ball for me. And the way that I can picture it is if I'm trying to push a car uphill, and it's taken a lot of motivation to finally get it to the point to where it's moving with a little less force than what I'm putting in. That's kind of how I feel right now. I'm finally to the point where things are moving along, and what I'm really yearning for is to get a lot more quality out of my podcast. And what I think you guys can expect from me in the future is if I can upgrade my equipment, and if you donate to my podcast, that you can ensure that you're donating for quality, and that in turn is ultimately benefiting you guys. It's not benefiting me, because the money that I receive is going back into this podcast 100%.
And you really hit the head right there. I think there is a state of mind especially in the industry, where people think, oh, they're making money. Oh, these people make tons of money. They're out to make a quick buck. For example, there was a post started in Belgab regarding TruthFunders, and it was really cool. I mean, that's an honor to be, for someone, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, to someone to bring you up in Belgab, one of the coolest forums that I grew up looking and watching.
As did I. I still read, by the way, and there's no such thing as bad press. Mark's right. There's a little bit of an honor to be, even if we're being hosed by him. Like, it's still pretty cool that they're hosts.
Sure, but I mean, I didn't feel that it was being hosed. I think people have questions and they want to know, and it's rightful. I think, a lot of people say, oh well, they're just trying to make a quick buck. There's no such thing as a quick buck. Not in this state.
There's not even
in
a quick thing as a quick penny. I mean, we're not making any money. There's no money. There's literally no money. It's all passion. It's literally all passion.
It is passion. But that being said, if it was possible to make money, and some people do make money, like, okay, take George Norrie, right? He's out there. He's on coast to coast. He's making a lot of money.
Voldemort's know him in the Harry Potter universe. Dude.
Exactly. He who shall not be named, right? But he is making money, and he's doing that. He's doing his thing. There are ways to make money. There's a guy who's making a lot of apps, like ghost hunting apps, and he's trying to do it as best as he can. And the thing is this: he puts in hours upon hours building this stuff. Like we put in hours doing the show, doing the research for the show. We put in hours building the platform. I mean, to think about it, to create a platform where people can create projects and put them up there, and we help to market them. We work directly with the people. We built their site. We put it out. It's not like we just drop it on Facebook and say that's it. No, we really...
It sounds like Eli's a professional. Do you think Eli's going to go start working with people who are not professionals? Take Eli's word for it. Right, Eli? Professional.
Absolutely not. I don't work with amateurs, only professionals.
And that's the TruthFunders way right there.
But the thing is, it's like, we love this stuff. We should be able to make money in the field that you love. And if we love the paranormal and we're working really hard at it, it's if you wind up making money, that's fantastic, because you're able to survive doing something that you love and trying to make a positive influence and create change. Will that happen? Maybe not. But you keep doing it. And you keep doing it because you're passionate about it, one way or another. So I don't look down at people who make money doing what they're doing. I think that's okay. And also asking for money in order to make it better. Last week we had Nancy and Bill Burns on. They have done hours. They had 250 episodes that they've done, and they put them out there for free. And it's great that they put them out there for free. I mean, I think there's different radio models that you can do, right? But they have a past catalog. I'm sure a lot of people would like to listen to their past catalog, and that past catalog, that's worth something, because that's their time, that's their product, that's their content that they put out there. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, you guys, we work really hard at this. Would you mind donating to it? Or do you feel okay, subscribing to it? There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm a firm believer of that. I do think there's people in the paranormal world that will, no matter what, say, oh, no, you can't make any money, because if you do, that means that you're a fake or you're false. And I don't know. I'm not of that mindset that you have to starve in order to do something that's incredible for mankind. Not that Mark, we're doing something incredible for mankind, but I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I actually didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think you hit on something that's really important in my mind. And that's the fact that when someone like me that is doing these podcasts, I'm actually, if you want to think of it from a business model, I'm way in the red. And I'm talking about service hosting. I'm talking about hours spent. And I would just like everyone to keep in mind that this isn't the only thing that I do. I have a full-time job, and when I come home, my hours spent at home are going on for the next guest. And I think that TruthFunders honestly is a way for the paranormal community to shine and to say that if you like a project that's going on, and it doesn't even have to be my project, if you like another project that's going on there, I would rather you donate to a project that you truly believe in than to donate to my project and that you don't truly believe in, and that you're only more worried about the rewards from the project. I think this is a way to show the paranormal community that when we believe in something, we're going to help make it rise, and we're going to help make it something that's awesome for the whole community. And I think that this is where TruthFunders is very, very important and awesome for the community.
And that's so kind of you to say. And I feel, that's why it was created, Eli, and you get it. And that's what's
it's
so
an
exciting.
Opportunity for people to put their money where their mouth is, and to give some credibility back to the paranormal community. Because let's face it, if we're going to be completely honest about this and look at it from an objective point of view, the paranormal community has taken a beating over the last 40 years for being just a bunch of fruits, nuts, and flakes, a bunch of lunatics with tinfoil hats on their heads. And this gives us a chance to really come together and, like I said, put our money where our mouth is, and grow the community and spread awareness and turn it back into something that the general public sees as a force to be reckoned with, something that's actually worth listening to and paying attention to. And it's all about feeding into itself and helping grow, and, water will seek its own level, essentially.
Yeah, and I wanted to also shout out that you just received a $10 donation. MJ just donated to your podcast, as well. So your goal, your project just went up today. Maybe I think it went up 2 hours ago, and you just got an awesome $10 donation from MJ.
MJ,
so
you really are
MJ.
the man. There really is. I want to take a moment and just point out how MJ is the man, because he is consistently being the first to get involved with a lot of these projects as we bring guests on the air and talk about their projects. He leads the way. He is a beacon of light. He is like Paul Revere riding through town, screaming out that the Redcoats are coming. Being that first person to jump. And I really appreciate MJ and everything he does. I just want to say that. Even if
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart that does mean a lot to me, and any donations that I receive, without sounding like a commercial for you guys, because I know that this isn't what I want this to be about. I truly appreciate it, and I really want you guys to know that if there were more that I could give you guys for your donations, believe me wholeheartedly, I would give you guys even more than what I can. But what I'm working with here is the best that I got. And I want you to know that every dollar that is spent on the TruthSquad podcast, it really, truly will go to good use. I can promise you that.
And ultimately, what you are going to be able to offer is a better sounding show that hopefully will result in a more widened variety of audience, and which will result in more money being put into the show. And then, it's the growth and the maturation of your show that I think is the investment of the dollar being spent. And that's what you will have to give to the audience.
That's absolutely true. I mean, I can tell you an example. I tried to listen to a radio show earlier today while I was at work.
Was it an old TruthFunders show?
I wish I could say that it was, but it was not. And I can tell you that the quality of the show was so poor that I actually had to turn it off, even though the subject was good.
Are you sure it wasn't an old TruthFunders
show? No, I promise you it wasn't. But this is what I just wanted to say is that the quality of my show is very important to me. And, right now the equipment that I'm working with, I pick up in like a 3-mile radius, it feels like, with my microphone. And I just, it's just important that I bring quality, because my name is attached to this, and it's something that I put a lot of pride and effort into. And I just want you guys to really know that I truly care about what I'm doing.
And you just got another $10 donation from me. I had to throw one in there too. If MJ was doing it, I'm doing it. I put my money where my mouth is.
If I were sober enough to trust myself with operating a credit card right now, I would put $10 in. But let's be honest, I'm so hopped up on Vicodin that we can't do that. Mark, we only have about 10 minutes left in this show, which is crazy to me.
Oh, okay. Well, then
we
got
to do some remote viewing stuff. Yeah, I think we should thank Eli, and we should let him go on his merry way, and we should wrap up the show if that's okay with you, Eli.
That sounds great. Hey, Eli, great. I want to thank you so much. For everybody listening, Eli has a really, really interesting take and a really, really interesting podcast.
You've got a very easy to listen to voice as well, Eli, which definitely helps in your long-term prospects for being.
Oh, thank you
for being a radio host. I may not sound like it, I may not act like it, but I've got 10 years of experience in national talk radio and podcasting, and I've actually helped create some of the biggest podcasts out there, literally. And you have an easy to listen to voice, and you're articulate, and I see you going a long way.
Thank you, Art.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So thank you so much, everybody. If you want to help out with the Truth Squad podcast, or if you just want to listen to the Truth Squad podcast and find out what it's about, there's a full episode up on TruthFunders.com. So go to www.truthfunders.com, scroll down, and you will see the Truth Squad podcast. Go ahead and click that. You can see the different levels of donations. You can be immortalized. You will be a friend of the podcast forever if you donate. And it's not a lot. It really isn't. And it's helping to create more and spread consciousness the way we like to do here at Truth Funders. So go ahead and click that. And you can also press play and listen to a full-length episode of the Truth Squad podcast directly on truthfunders.com. And though we both have truth in our name, we're two separate entities.
We're just all trying to find the fucking truth, though.
The fucking truth. You heard it.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Eli. And Mark, you wanted to get to a couple things here, I know, before we wrapped up.
Absolutely. So thank you, Eli. Have a great night. I don't know, Eli, did you leave? Are you there?
No, I'm here. I just wanted to say thank you, guys. The opportunity is an honor. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
Check in with us. We'll check in with you down the line, and maybe we could even be on the TruthSquad show at some point. We do need to start doing that, Mark.
Yeah. I would love to have you guys on without a doubt. So just
All right,
let me know and we'll get you scheduled.
So sometime through May, because I know you're booked through May.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime you guys want.
Cool.
Thank
Bring
you.
a bag of Skittles for Art to eat while we do it.
Why don't you sit on it and rotate, Mark Schwartz?
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks, Eli. Take care. Everybody, that's Eli from the Truth Squad podcast. Go ahead, check out his stuff. It's awesome. So now, dun, 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 drum roll, please. Okay, remote viewing time. I need everybody to focus. Coming in deep from the nerd.
It's a vape pen.
It's not this time. I should do that. I should double it up sometime, though, so people think it's something different. But I want everybody to focus in as much as you can. I don't know if you guys are going to get this, but I'm going to send vibes out.
Chapstick.
Art, you can't guess, man. Well, I guess you can guess, but I'm not going to tell you. So here's how the game is played. We want to find some real remote viewers out there. If you are listening to the show right now, you can go to the Facebook page, the TruthFunders Facebook page, and you can type in, there's a special spot for you, to the remote viewing section. You could type in what it is on remote viewing. So we're going to take 10 seconds here. I'm not going to tell you if I'm holding it. I'm not going to tell you if it's part of the room. I'm not going to say what it is, but I will describe this. I am sitting in my office right now. The sun is almost set in Northern California. The trees are getting a little bit darker and the sun's just coming through barely. It's about to go away. In my frickin' nerd lair, where I am a CEO, hard to believe. I am a business and I run meetings. But for right now, I'm surrounded by my old vinyl record player. I'm looking at my weird Tron action figures, at my Nintendo Power Glove. There's my skateboard. Yes, I'm 35 and I still skateboard all the time. And I'm surrounded by all this stuff, but there's something that I'm looking at and I'm focusing extremely hard at it. And I'm looking at it, and we're going to take 10 seconds. All right. Okay, here, and I'm going to
shut off all the lights too.
Okay, I'm going to say three things. You can write on Facebook wall what colors you think it is. That's one thing.
I got some colors swirling around here.
And then what you think it is. So I'm going to focus. I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to let you guys think.
Too. I'm going to get into my Zen state here, and you said 10 seconds. I'll set the clock. Okay.
Right, and you can write it in the chat room if you're in the chat room. We'll check that too.
Okay,
go.
10 and go.
Dead space is never good on air, but this is important.
Resetting 10 seconds. Go.
Okay, I promise not to talk this time. All right, we got it. I hope you guys got it.
That was like 6 seconds for the record.
Hey, but it's like dead air. It's just like freezing. Okay.
Dead air, I think, is the most interesting thing. If you come across dead air on any radio station, you stop immediately because you want to know what happened, what's going on, and when they're going to come back. I think dead air is actually one of the most fascinating things to listen to on the radio. But that's just my opinion, and I'm doped out of my mind on Vicodin. So, take it. Take it.
I don't know. I think we should title the show like the TruthFunders Fun Train Wreck Show. But it got really good. Eli was a fantastic guest.
I really loved Eli. I would be happy to have Eli on again. I bet Eli has a fantastic podcast. Admittedly, I've never heard any of the episodes of Eli's show, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to, in my blitzed out state, hang up with you after we're done with this show and go check out some Truth Squad, because he really had some good things to say, and I meant what I said. He was an easy voice to listen to.
You better watch out, Art. If you eat any more Skittles and break any more teeth, I might have to have Eli come back and replace you for good.
Well, that's the thing, is he can't. And
no one can replace you, dude. That's
right.
I'll take you on drugs over not being here any day.
I really am bummed out. I missed out on last week's show, and I'm a little more bummed out that nobody wanted to call and talk to me in my deranged state. But that's okay, because that means they like me better when I'm not deranged, and come hell or high water next week.
Well, come on, Carol. I know you want to call in. Carol, at least you're one call for the night. I know you're out there. Just give us a call.
She's on next, isn't she? She's definitely listening.
Well, I think she's getting on soon. So, Carol, give us a call, 888-919-2355. We need a female's perspective for a second, just for like 1 minute before our show ends. We want the female's perspective on anything on this show, on what you think that we were just remote viewing. Anything. Come on, Carol. Come on. I know you're out there. Anywho.
Maybe Carol's not enough. I bet the people on Bell Gap are going to really have quite a bit to say. By the way, that was pretty cool to be mentioned on Bell Gap. And I guess we should at least, in the very last 2 minutes here of the show, mention that Art Bell is coming back officially, which is pretty cool. Who knows how long he'll be around with this version of the show, because we can only speak by statistical experience, and that shows that he doesn't stick around.
Yeah, but you know what? It's really cool, and I think that and maybe next week we can do this. Is we can talk about the different radio, like paranormal radio models. Like there's a lot of ways to really make money and make your radio show succeed out there.
Oh yeah.
And I think that Art went to XM. I don't know if he did all the best research before he went there, but there's like such really cool things, and he could own his own property, doing his own show, and like it'd be really great to talk about some of that stuff. It's really
look. If anything, I'm looking forward to hearing Mr. Bell's voice.
I can't wait.
Again.
He's
Desert Night or whatever the hell he's calling the show. But yeah, I'll always sign up to take a ride with our friend, and it was cool. Although, by the way, we are down to the last 60 seconds of the show.
Carol, I think Carol's on here.
Oh, is Carol there? Carol, did you make it? Because you got less than a minute.
Hello.
Oh, there she is.
Hello.
Hey.
10 seconds. Hello. Carol, will you say hello and goodbye for us from TruthFunders?
Yes.
Hello and goodbye.
Thank you,
say
Carol.
Hello. I don't know why you say goodbye. I say hello or something.
Oh, I know
Beatles.
that band. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. it should have been a quiz. I could have sung the Jeopardy music or something like that.
Baby.
You're not gonna get one over me.
Next time, but listen. You guys rock, and listen, you rock, and you were rocking the loaded airwaves, and it was really kind of monumental and classic.
Oh, look at that. Monumentally classic. Just like the Mount Rushmore. Monumentally classic.
You have 10 seconds left.
All
Carol,
right,
Carol,
there we go. What is the name of the man who carved the figures on Mount Rushmore?
His name was MJ, and MJ, I signed TruthFunders Radio off now because it's time to do that. For Mark Schwartz, I am Art Webb, TruthFunders Radio. Take it away, MJ. We'll talk to you next week. I'll be sober.
Thank you, Carol, Patrick, people in chat room, Inception.
TruthFunders Radio on the Inception Radio Network.